Hello again, and welcome to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. My name is Randy Cook, and each week Jay and I sit down here and kind of go through some of the things maybe that you're wondering about, you're concerned about. It's in the back of your mind that one of these days you're going to retire. You're going to walk away from that 9 to 5, and then what? And how's the money going to work? And what are you going to do? What do you want to do? And who's helping you? That's really the main question that we have for you today. Jay, how are you doing today?
Doing real well, Randy. We've been getting a lot of rain out here, and boy, do we need it.
Yeah, Jay, I'm in Atlanta, if you didn't know that, and we went through exactly the same thing. We haven't had any rain for a long time, and then Memorial Day weekend, it decided, well, we'll catch up now. And on the holiday weekend, it just poured the whole time, so we needed it.
The way.
It is so true. But this is a good time of year for sure. You know, kids getting out of school, it's summertime, people are thinking about things that are other than their finances, so we're trying to bring that to the top of the mind here today. But Jay, I was thinking about you. This is kind of a weird thing. Okay, so I'm outside and it's a hot summer day, and I'm looking up and I'm seeing the buzzards are flying in the air and they're circling and they're riding those wind currents up there into the air. And I don't want you to think that I'm thinking of you when I'm looking at turkey buzzards, but I am thinking of you when I'm thinking of people flying through the air as you are a pilot. And I thought they look like they're having fun up there, as a matter of fact. But you know what? Those currents for the birds are great, but I mean, if you hit one as a pilot, that might not be such a good thing. I've heard of that before. The planes go zipping up into the air, and they didn't know that those things were there. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I mean, more so, kind of what you're talking about are like pretty significant wind shear events or updrafts that are more associated with like thunderstorm kind of activity, right? Okay. But what you're talking about, I mean, that's why I still do it, but I don't really enjoy flying in the summer just because of that, right? Especially in the South, like, Texas or, out where you are in Georgia. It's not enjoyable down low. You've got to get up higher, right, to enjoy it.
It's bumpy.
It's very bumpy. It's happened to me last year. I was going out to Vegas for a couple of meetings, and I flew from here. I mean, half the trip is just getting out of Texas. I flew from here. I stopped in a place called Deming, New Mexico, which is kind of just west of El Paso, like when you're flying at least. It's, 20 minutes fuel. And then from there to Vegas, oh my God. Like the roughest flying I've ever had. And like for the birds, they love it, right? Yeah. But for me, not pleasant. And you can relate it to retirement to a degree, right? Like what's good for one investor in a different part of their life is not good for another.
There you go. And the lift is good for the both of you, but maybe not so much. And we're always looking for lift in our portfolios. I want my money to grow, but what I want to get to here is there's different ways to do that. Buying NVIDIA and buying Google and buying all the hot stocks, is that the thing to do for some people? Maybe yes, but for other people, maybe no. People got to come to you and they got to have a whole different approach to how they want to use that lift of the stock market.
That's right.
A little bit at a time for some and a lot for others.
Yeah, that's right. Like to your point, that lift could easily be translated into volatility with the market. Yeah. Right? And if you're in high growth things like you just mentioned, NVIDIA or any of the tech stuff, really, if you're in that stuff, does it in the future have potential significant growth? It has in the past. Maybe it will in the future. Maybe it won't. It hasn't been smooth. Yeah. It certainly hasn't been smooth. Go and take a look at some of those charts for the last 10 years, 15 years. It hasn't been a nice, smooth ride, but you've gotten the growth. You've gotten the lift. Now, for a retiree, and it's funny, I was just talking to some of the guys, some of the advisors in the office about this the other day, and you and I have chatted about it before, too, on the show. What we find is it takes people a couple of years at least, usually, to get out of the mindset of growth once they've retired. Because while they were working, and good for them that they did this, it was all about, I want to accept the risk. I want to grow the portfolio. I want to turn this $1 million into 2 million and the 2 million into 3 million. Yeah, great. Good thing you did that, because now we've got something to work with. But there has to be a huge mind shift at retirement. And this is the very frank conversation we have to have with people when it's this, hey, I want to take on more risk. It's now, what's more important to you, bud? Is it growing this portfolio from 2 million to 3 million, or is it making sure that this can fund your lifestyle for the next, whatever it is, right? 20, 30 years. And when you put it like that, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, the whole point of this was to get to retirement. All right, let's have that conversation. Let's have that plan, right? Because that plan is not necessarily conducive to high growth, high volatility sorts of investments.
You know, when I think about that plane ride, and I want to get to that place where we all want to go. I mean, you said you wanted to get to Vegas. You got to Vegas, but boy, it sure was bumpy. You know, for a retiree, maybe they don't want bumpy. You know, I don't want bumpy. Yeah. So steer me around the bumpy. I don't want that.
Well. It's funny the analogy you're bringing up there, right? Because do you know what the solution is when you're flying and it's rough? Do you know what the solution is to make it less bumpy?
Steer around it, go higher, go low. I don't know. What?
Slow down.
Slow down. Okay.
Slow down.
All right.
Right. So you slow down. And like as I was approaching Vegas, you know, obviously it gets a lot busier there with the airspace and the radios get a lot busier. And I was going not into the main airport because it's chaos getting in and out of there with the big guys. There's an airport to the south called Henderson. And a lot of the smaller planes, the private planes, will go in there. And we start talking to kind of that controller that's working that area. And almost every plane, when they're checking in, like, hey, just be prepared, we're slowing down because it's getting too rough.
I see.
We're reducing from 250 to 200, right? Like telling them, hey, the speed is about to go down, so don't count on us going that fast because it's so rough. And that's the key. And it's an interesting, I didn't know you were going to go this direction today, but it's really an interesting conversation because people think when you get into retirement, oh, like, you know, kind of I'm going to relax a little bit more, I'm going to slow down a little bit. Should your investments be doing that as well? Maybe, right? Maybe not everything, right? You know, but do we have everything on the markets with that volatility? I wouldn't have it that way. You know, if it's my money, I wouldn't. And just looking at it, you know, like I say, Jay's a pilot, and he kind of looks at things from that viewpoint. When you think about getting to your destination, you want to get there as smooth as possible. Maybe you're okay with a couple of bumps, maybe not. Okay, well, let's sit down and talk through that. That is the customization of your retirement plan as opposed to anybody else's. So let's sit down and talk through that. Give Jay and the team a call at Secure Financial Management. Here's the website, pretty easy to remember. It's retire210.com. Pretty easy. Retire210.com. There you'll see the website. There is a place for you to put a little information in there. The team reaches out to you, and it starts a conversation. No cost, no obligation conversation about you and your retirement. What have you done? What have you saved? What do you want to do? What are your goals? When do you want to retire? Let's get it all out on the table and talk through it and see if there's any gaps there, and can the team help? Again, Secure Financial Management at retire210.com, or just give them a call, bypass all that, and say, hey, I'd like to talk. 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. Well, Jay and I in the past have talked a lot about these crazy stories where you need $1.4 million to retire. You need this, and we blow those things out of the water all the time. But what you're really wondering about is, what do you spend? What do I need per month in retirement? And they have the new numbers out. This came from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is from last year. And the average retiree is spending about $5,000 a month. $60,000 a year. Okay. How are they spending that money? This is interesting. 36% on housing, 15% on transportation, 13% on healthcare. Still no fun. Notice that? Still no fun. 13% on food, 7% on utilities, 3% on clothes. Still no fun. 3% on household items. Oh, here it is. 5% on entertainment. So according to this, you spend $3,000 a year on fun in retirement. I don't think that's enough, Jay. Just not enough for me. They didn't poll my clients in this one, that's for sure, because they're not spending that.
Yeah.
I was just chatting with, I don't know, like a half a dozen different groups of clients that are in Europe at the moment. Going through Italy and Portugal and Spain, all over.
3,000 a day.
Yeah, maybe that's more like it, right?
Yeah.
And I was chatting with one of them, and I was like, hey, like, it's awesome. I love to see you doing retirement, right? Like enjoying it, right? Yeah, and to your point, you're not doing that on 5% of $5,000, right? And everybody should kind of have their suspicious kind of mindset go up every time the word average is used.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because if you and me and Elon Musk are in a room, do you like our average net worth is $200 billion?
That's a good point.
And unless you're hiding something, you're not worth $200 billion.
He's screwing up the curve, right? That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And so it's like with this. So, and take it a step further, right? You know what's scary is if this is the average, yeah, there's people out there spending 10, 15, 20,000 a month.
Yeah.
You know what that means?
A lot of people spending
that to
less.
get this average, yeah, there's a lot of people on less, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people on Social Security and just barely getting by. That's the scary part.
Yep.
But you know, I think with this, what is a great lesson to learn from this is if you have detailed numbers like this, hey, my housing is X, my whatever it is, and you decide I want to spend $20,000 a year on travel. Well, whatever, maybe travel's not your thing. Maybe it's something else. Whatever it might be, we need to back that number in to how much do we need to support this, right? And that's why we always have this conversation of what have we heard? 800,000 to 5 million? Somewhere in that range is the different numbers people come up with that you need to have to retire. Well, for who? For what person is that? Well, if we know what you need to live the retirement that you want, we can tell you what that number is, and we can get to it. Yeah.
Well, one of the conversations I think is so vitally important is as you sit down and get to know Jay and the team is you just kind of say who you are. I mean, this is who I am. You know, my parents are 90 years old. Well, okay, that means that you got some longevity in your family. We learned something about you. Maybe you don't travel, but you do love to do something, and that's going to cost a certain amount of money. Or what does travel mean to you? Does that mean around the world? Does that mean to Europe? Does that mean to the beach? Okay, let's talk through all of that. Right. Give Jay a call. Give the team a call. Let's talk through your retirement. It's a no cost, no obligation meeting. What that means is, hey, you've been thinking about this for a long time. Why don't we get some of this out on the table and start to talk about what you've done for retirement, where you've saved it, how it's working, what you need in retirement, and really start to hone in on what it looks like for you to retire. Let's get some numbers for you. Here's our numbers. It's 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. No cost, no obligation meeting. Let's sit down and just start the conversation about how it's all going to work. You can also use the website, which is retire210.com. And while you're there, check out Jay's book. That is right there on the website. Jay, it's a book that you kind of written for people maybe that you're never going to meet, is what you say, is say, hey, this is what you're up against in retirement. Here's what we see. Tell me a little bit about the book. Yeah,
it's Wall Street's Game, and you're absolutely right. You know, most of the people that read that book, I'm never going to meet, right? We get sales on Amazon all the time, and they go on all over the country. That book's been delivered all over the country. And really, I wrote it for the average person who has no inside knowledge of how the industry works. They don't really realize what they're up against. And it's to try and give them a peek behind the curtain. I mean, that's why it's called Wall Street's Game. Hey, kind of what's the game that's being played here? What are the rules that I don't know? And how can I do the best to protect myself? It was not a quick book to write, Randy. I think I told you. When I started, I was single with no kids, and by the time I finished it, I was married and had a kid. So it kind of started, put to the side, back again. It was the best feeling in the world when it got finished.
Well, one of the things we've talked about is, like, if you break your leg, you go to the hospital, they plug you into the medical system, and now you're a part of that. If you have an accident with your car, you go down to the shop, and they plug you into that system. Well, now that you're getting into retirement, they're going to plug you into the financial system, and all of it is not working for you. Let me tell you that. So that's some of the things you need to know going in, and to avoid some of the pitfalls of that, this might be a great opportunity for you. So check it out online, retire210.com. You can go and pick up a copy of Wall Street's Game from Jay Kirkwood. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Roth here for just a moment, because, you know, we put a lot of emphasis on that. If you're over 50 years old, you can start putting a little bit more money into that 401k and a little bit more money into the Roth. But a Roth, it's like $8,600. That is not going to get you a long way if this is, you know, the big money that you're going to have in retirement. So some people will use what's called a backdoor Roth. And that sounds very illegal, but it's not. It's completely legal. So explain to me, this is a movement from your 401k over to a Roth, or how does this all work?
Yeah, I mean, essentially at a high level, it's converting pre-tax dollars, right? Money that you haven't paid tax on yet, into a Roth, paying the tax on that, getting it into the Roth, and hopefully growing that. And then after a period of time, it all comes out tax-free.
Okay.
Really, at a high, those are the mechanics of it. But that's not really the conversation here. The conversation here is that this is a tax planning conversation, right? And you and I talked about on a show weeks ago, months ago, that where we are with everything is we're leaning much more heavily into the tax management side of things, because that is that's kind of like stage 2 of this, right? Is that we've got all these people that they've done a great job saving. They've gone from work life to retirement life, and they might have $1 million, $3 million, $5 million in these accounts that have not been taxed yet. And the government is very excited about this, right? Because they are going to get a big chunk of this. And that probably more than returns managing the taxation of those accounts and minimizing it as much as legally possible will be where you're going to get a big gain, right, in that side of things. And let me give you an example of how poorly it's being managed in general, okay? So these backdoor Roths, what we're saying is taking money from whatever it is, an IRA, a 401k, and maybe someone's 55 when they're doing this, maybe they're 65, who knows what it is. But whenever you take that money from the pre-tax side of it, okay, it's what we call a qualified account in the industry. A qualified account, essentially it's a retirement account that hasn't been taxed yet. Let's just look at it that way. And we move it into the Roth. Whatever portion that you're moving is considered income, right? And income tax is probably the worst sort of tax you can pay, right? There's capital gains, a little bit more favorable income tax. Now, think about if you're still working while you do this, that's just getting stacked on top of whatever it is you're making. One of my advisors, I was working on this case with him. We had a call from a guy in, I can't remember if it was Lubbock or Amarillo. We get calls from all over the country, and this was a Texas guy. And he said, hey, I don't even know how he heard about us. It was I don't know if it was YouTube or whatever it was, but anyway, he got to us. And he said, hey, I don't think what I'm doing is right at the moment. He's like, I've got a guy who's been helping with my investments, and I mean, he's kind of done okay, and his wife is a CPA. It sounds like it's a little husband and wife shop, right? Like kind of a bit of a small operation. And he said, the guy has 4.7 million or 5 million in these accounts, and he's 57 and his wife's about 57. So they're still working, right? And they're really high earners. They're making like 600,000 or 700,000 between them. And he said, for the last 2 years, the tax planning advice that I've got is to do a backdoor Roth conversion, what we're talking about, right? And I can't remember if they said to do 100 or 200,000. And I just said, I was like, hey, what do you think about that, right? Because I already know what I think about it, right? What do you think about that? And he said, I don't see how this is to my advantage. I was like, I don't see how it is either, right? You're making 600,000 or 700,000, and then you're putting a couple 100,000 on top of that, putting yourself like so those Roth conversions are being taxed at the highest possible tax bracket, right? And having a good plan for that. So suffice to say, we can come up with all other options. That is not the best. That is not a good option, obviously, right? So managing that is going to be integral, because what did he lose? 40%?
Goodness.
Of that? Probably not the best way. So working with a group that knows how to do this in the most tax efficient way, and maybe that's waiting, right? In this guy's case, it is, right? They're probably not going to be on 600,000-700,000 in retirement. I very highly doubt that they will be. There's probably a better time to do this. So instead of rushing into it, making, I guess you'd say, uneducated decisions, get a plan around this.
Yeah.
You're going to lose most of what you saved.
Yeah. Doing the math on it and saying, hey, maybe it's a good idea, but maybe we wait till you retire and the income isn't there anymore, and then we start doing the conversions. Maybe that makes sense, or much smaller conversions. It is all about the math on this one. And to sit down with you and to say, hey, most of my money's in a 401k. What does that look like for me when I'm 73 or 75 and Uncle Sam comes knocking and says, okay, time to access that money? What happens to your tax bill at that point? Is it really going to hammer you, or is it not going to be a big deal? Or is it time to sit down and talk through it? If the bulk of your money is in a 401k, this is a conversation that you really need to have. Give Jay and the team a call at Secure Financial Management. Online, it is retire210.com. Go to the website, tool around, learn more. Give the team a call, 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. This is a no-cost, no-obligation look, and that might be one of your first questions. Jay, most of my money's in a 401k. I hear I'm headed for a tax problem. Do you see that? What do we do about it? Really good question. Give them a call, 210-985-6200. And remember to have this podcast delivered straight to your favorite podcast platform by hitting like, follow, or the subscribe button. Thanks again for listening to Clear Skies Retirement, and we'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jay Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.